Hi. Hi. Hi, honey. Oh. Wow. Is mommy covered in breast milk? Hi guys. So in today's video, you're so loud. In today's video, I wanted to introduce you to my little man, who's very loud if you can't tell. He likes to make all kinds of little noises. Hi everybody. Say hi. You look like a little ham sandwich. Are you a ham sandwich? Yeah. Yeah, ham sammy. Everyone, meet Wiley. Wiley, meet everyone. Oh. Oh. This is my son. He's 4 weeks old today, and his name is Wiley Ambrose Ellis. His middle name is the same as his daddy's middle name. And we went with Wiley because it was just honestly, he's so loud. It was honestly one of the only boy names that really resonated with me. And as soon as I said it to Josh, he was like, I like it, let's do it. It was the first name we really thought of. And he was born on October 28th at 7:31 a.m. after 31 hours of labor. And he was 8 pounds, 12 ounces. So he was on the bigger side. He is just our little guy. We love him so much. Like, I just can't believe I have a baby, y'all. What the heck? Come on in. I still love you too. Had to let the kitty in. She's feeling left out. And I wanted to just introduce you guys to him and also tell you a little bit about my labor experience. I don't want to scare anyone into not having children, but I thought I would tell you guys a little bit about it. And you know, it's funny how quickly the mind forgets. I'm already just looking at him and thinking, ooh, I could have a couple more of you. Not right now. I'm definitely good with just one right now. You just forget all the pain so quickly because they're just so dang cute. The past couple weeks with this little guy has been quite the adjustment. I didn't realize how often babies really wake up in the middle of the night. I was always a very sleep-oriented individual. I love my sleep. And so just adjusting to that new schedule has been the biggest challenge, I'd say. I don't know what I would do without my husband. Josh has been amazing. To say he stepped, I can honestly cry just thinking about it. To say he stepped up would be an understatement, the understatement of the century. I just never even have to ask him to do anything. He just jumps right in. He loves it. He never complains. So my last video was my 42-week pregnancy update. And if you guys remember, I was overdue, obviously 42 weeks, 2 weeks overdue. And if the lighting is a little crazy today, the sun is just going in and out and I'm working with natural daylight, so it's probably gonna be like flashing in and out throughout this whole video, so sorry about that. But I went in to be induced on a Friday night and I was in labor for 2 nights, a day, and a morning. So because I was induced, it just took a really long time because my body didn't go into labor naturally. Also, you know, I was having really weird contractions. They weren't super productive. They were kind of all over the place. I did end up waiting 14 hours to get my epidural because I just wanted to make sure I was progressing and dilating, and sometimes the epidural can slow things down a little bit. So I waited 14 hours and that's pretty much where I hit my threshold and I know some people do it without medication the whole way through, and that is unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable to me. And I mean, that's how women did it for centuries and centuries, of course, but I just reached my pain threshold. I couldn't do it anymore. I went in for the epidural. Immediate sweet relief. It was amazing. But I had an odd experience with my epidural. I know you're still supposed to be able to feel certain things, like feeling pressure and your contractions and stuff like that, but mine would truly wear off to where I was in pain, like a lot of pain. And that happened, I think, around 3 times. So the anesthesiologist would come in and give me a bolus, like inject the medication straight into the line or whatever. And he did that a couple times. And then finally, I think the last time he did it was when I was going through transition, which is the most painful part of labor. Usually it's not very long, anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. Of course, mine was an hour. When he had given me that last little shot of medication, I knew right away it didn't go into my left side. I could just feel that it did not go into the left side of my body. And so I could feel everything, or what I assumed to be everything. I was feeling a lot on the left side of my body. I didn't feel anything on the right side. But as I was going through transition, oh my God, There are just no words to describe, honestly. There's just no words to describe. It was the most pain I've ever been in my life. It was horrible. It was honestly horrible. You can see my face right now just thinking about it. So that was definitely the point where, you know, afterwards I had apologized to my midwife. I was definitely cursing, swearing. I was like, I'm gonna die. Just take me to the operating room. Just get him out. Like, I'm gonna die. I was just swearing up and down. I'm like, where's the anesthesiologist? Get him in here. Did we call him? Where is he? I just couldn't stop like screaming pretty much. Oh, the cat just threw up and then we had a little meltdown. So we're gonna be okay. So I forgot to mention that we did have a doula, which was one of our best friend's mothers. A doula is basically a birth advocate that's with you the whole step of the way while you're giving birth, and I would really recommend it. She was incredible. I never could have done it without her. As amazing as Josh was, you know, she was awake the entire time, there with me explaining my options, and just really, really super helpful. So then, you know, he was just taking a really long time to descend and come down the canal or whatever. So they had me kind of sitting up to try to get him to like come down farther. And eventually he did, but I started to feel my epidural wearing off again. And at that point, they told me I couldn't get any more medication because they wanted me to be able to feel in order to push. And to that I said, okay, well then let's push, because I cannot sit here through this pain any longer. Like, let's do this. Maybe a little prematurely. I started pushing, and that, whew, I felt most of the pain like in my butt. Like, I felt like I was having a baby out my butt. My doula said she's never seen anybody push as hard as I did. I don't know if she tells everybody that, but it was primal. Like, I was screaming, not necessarily out of pain. I mean, it was definitely out of pain as well, but just trying so hard to push this baby out. I did that for 2.5 hours, and we tried everything, squatting, the towel, just good old-fashioned legs in the air, pushing, everything. Oh my gosh, you guys. Childbirth is no joke, okay? They came in and told me, you know, you're not really making any progress. Turns out you had a big old head. You had a big old head, Buster Brown. They decided to try the vacuum, so they brought in the doctor, and they basically attached a vacuum that kind of looks like a little hockey puck to the top of his head. And they pretty much told me, and I could sense the vibe in the room was, I mean, they didn't tell me, but I could really just pick up on the fact that this was really the last thing they could really try before taking me in for a C-section. They came in, they attached the little hockey puck to his head. On the first try, it came off. On the second try, they told me, you really, really, really have to push with this. We're not just gonna pull him out. Like, you have to push really, really hard still. And I just mustered everything inside me, every little ounce of energy that I had left, every little primal instinct I had, and I pushed with all of my might. And my doula said she never saw a baby come out that quick with a vacuum. He came out, head, shoulders, body, all at once in one contraction, and he just like pretty much like flew out of there. They put him on my chest, and he was just a little slippery, slimy little turkey. And right away, you know, you could tell something wasn't quite right. His breathing was just very, very gurgly. His cry sounded off, just sort of a high-pitched like squealing noise. And so immediately I was concerned. I just knew it just didn't sound right. On top of that, he had a very interesting look. I know a lot of babies when they're first born look a little crazy. This poor child had been in the birth canal for so long, and because he had been breached too, he just had a lot of swelling. The front of his head was popped forward, the back was swollen out. He had this big popped up circle on the top of his head from the vacuum, which as you can see, and he had like an abrasion on his head, which as you can see is totally healed. But his nose was like pushed in and pushed up and like swollen into his face, and his eyes were all swollen. I just remember looking at Josh like, listen, of course I was way more concerned with his breathing at that point, but it was just all very jarring, we'll say that. And the doctor pretty much yelled out, "Throw a hat on him, we're losing mom." They took him to the NICU right away. I got to hold him for a little bit, but they took him to the NICU immediately, and then the pediatrician came down to talk to us, and he explained that, you know, his breathing was definitely off, and they weren't sure if it was because his mouth and throat were so small in the comparison to the rest of his head, because at that point his head was so swollen. Like I said, they just didn't know exactly what was going on. A lot of things were thrown around to us, like he may need surgery, they may need to take him to the children's hospital. It was just a lot to take in at that moment. I was just immediately concerned for him, and I just wanted him to be okay, and I just was so worried about him, you know. After I recovered for a little bit, I finally got to go down to the NICU and see my baby, and it was really the first time I got to hold him, and just walking into the NICU, all the emotions really hit me, because like I said, when I had delivered him, I was just mentally and physically, honestly, in shock. My body just didn't know what was happening, I don't think, and just all the weight of everything really hit me, all the emotions of having a baby. Looking at him, he had oxygen tubes in, he had a tube going down to his stomach, he had an IV in, and I just broke down into tears. I was just like, so, it just hit me, you know, how helpless they are when they're that little, and just like how helpless he was. And it just broke my heart to see him like that. It's okay, everything turned out okay. And you know, all the other little babies in there were just so tiny, and they just didn't know what was gonna happen pretty much. But he was in there for about 5 days, and he got better every single day. He made tons of improvements every day. Eventually they were able to, you know, take the oxygen completely off, and they just kept him in there to monitor him for a couple extra days. And one of the doctors, even like all of his swelling and everything went down. His head completely went back to normal. His nose like popped out, and he just looked like a completely different baby. One of the doctors even came up to me specifically to say, "I just want to tell you, I cannot believe the progress he's made. Like, he looks like a completely different child than he did a couple days ago." So I was just so thankful for that. Okay, we just had to put him in his little bouncy seat here because he was having a little bit of a breakdown, weren't we? So anyways, yeah, we were just so thankful that he recovered so quickly. They told us he was pretty much looked completely normal after a couple days. Everything was normal. It was amazing to have that outcome. Being in the NICU for a couple days, you just saw other parents that weren't getting good news, and it just made you so thankful, like just so thankful. Immediately once I had him, he's all I care about. I don't care about me anymore. Like, I just wanted him to be okay. So after that, we were happy to take him home and just get him settled in. And my recovery was pretty long. The first 2 weeks, I felt bad. I was just in a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain. I couldn't walk for the first couple days. Standing up and sitting down were really sketchy for a while. Felt like my insides were gonna fall out every time I stood up. I just couldn't wait to feel back to normal, you know? And to anybody out there who has like a rough recovery, I'm sure there's people out there who have way worse than me, but just hang in there. It gets better. I started seeing a light at the end of the tunnel after about 2.5 weeks, and then around 3 weeks I started feeling way normal, like way more normal, more like myself again. I honestly didn't think my labor would be that bad. Being 42 weeks pregnant, I was ready. I was like, let's do this. I was ready to go into labor. I was ready to give birth. I wanted to do it. And I honestly didn't think it would be that hard or that difficult. And girl, it was way more difficult than I ever could have even imagined. But at the same time, you get a baby out of it. Like, I got this little man over here, and I'm just so happy. And like, I know my life will never be the same. Like, I just love him so much. You know what I mean? It's amazing how nature works in that way, where you just start to forget things that happen. You start to forget your traumas because they're replaced by little bundles of joy. But yeah, that's why I'm still, you know, adjusting to that mom life. That's why I've got some dark circles and my hair is a little frazzled. I'm just a little frazzled in general, but we're getting there. We're getting adjusted. I'm definitely looking forward to the days where he sleeps a little bit longer than 2 to 3 hour stretches. That will be an amazing night, I should say, an amazing night. Even just 4 hours consecutive sleep would be fantastic. You know, you just gotta take it day by day. You gotta take it hour by hour, honestly. So that is it. I just wanted to come on here and just do a little intro so you guys could see my little person that I made. I made a person. I can't believe they let me have a baby. Like, who let me have a baby? What the heck? So anyways, we love you guys and thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in our next video. We'll see you next time. Bye.